Hey, it's Mo. Thank you for being here and spending your time with me because your time is valuable. I don't consider it to be a free resource, so I'm glad you're here with me. If you're here for the first time, I always film with natural light. It's part of what I do on the channel to try to keep everything as realistic as possible. I'm a real person. I don't use filters. I don't use fancy lights. I don't get PR. I don't do sponsorships. I'm just trying to keep it as accurate and authentic as possible. You can see I've got lines on my face. I have scars. There is no perfection here, and I think that's okay. I just happen to love makeup. I have all of my life. And today in particular, I thought we'd talk a little bit about e.l.f. because they came out with these little bite-sized palettes. But I was like, hey, those look kind of like the Fenty Snap Shadows that just came out. And they kind of look like Natasha Denona minis. So let's see what these are all about. So I ordered 5. I did not order every palette. They're each $3. Can you find anything, even at the drugstore, for $3 anymore? I can't. Here's what they look like. I want to show you what the size looks like. We're going to swatch all the colors that I do have, and I thought we might compare a little bit to a few things, just to kind of give you some insight into what they are. So as I said, they are officially the e.l.f. Bite Size Eyeshadow Palettes. This is Pumpkin Pie. You can see there's 4 colors in each palette. In this case, there's 2 shimmers, there's 2 mattes. And in terms of the actual pan size and the actual palette size, I want to give you a sense of that. So this obviously is the e.l.f. Bite Shadow, as I said, in Pumpkin Pie. And I'm comparing it to a Natasha Denona Mini just for size comparison, because as you know, these are pretty small as it is. This guy's even smaller, at least you know, from a length perspective, and it's a little bit, just a touch broader, a little wider in this sense, but you can see the comparison there. But the pan size is the same. So in a Natasha Denona Mini, the pan size is 0.8 grams. Same goes for these e.l.f. bite-sized palettes. These are no frills. Packaging is very simple, as I said. We're just going to swatch this. Feels very soft. This one I have not used yet on the eyes. So those are the 4 colors in the Pumpkin Pie palette. I think those swatch pretty nicely. Let's do Cream and Sugar next. I've not worn this one yet. Again, 2 mattes, 2 shimmers. They feel really nice because I've worn them on my eyes, but I haven't really swatched them. So there's what we go for Cream and Sugar. Really, I mean, no complaints about those swatches. This is the lightest shade, and as I often say, those typically don't show up very well on me on swatches because they tend to match my skin tone. So Cream and Sugar. This one is Rose Water. This was the first one that caught my eye because it reminded me of the Fenty Snap Shadows Cool Neutrals, and I have worn this one. I'll swatch Rose Water for you. I really like these colors. You can see them there. I'm probably just going to keep saying it, but those are some pretty nice swatches for any palette, but for a $3 palette, so far so good, e.l.f. on the swatches. Of course, the real truth comes on the eyes, doesn't it? Next one is Berry Bad. And this one I specifically thought also reminded me of the other Fenty Snap Shadow I have, which is the Rose palette. Swatch those for you. And again, those light shades don't show up terribly well on me, but that one shows up okay. You know what I mean? Look at that dark matte. That swatches really nicely. So that again is Berry Bad. Oh, and if you're wondering what's on my lips, it is from Almay and it's new. It's the Color & Care Lip Oil in Stick. And I'm wearing Rosy Glaze. And it feels really good. I like this stuff. But back to what we were doing. I did want to show you the way that these arrived. So I did order these from the e.l.f. website. So they came individually, each one in a little bubble wrap of their own. And then just open it up. And I thought it was interesting kind of how they opened. So, you know, I think in store they're going to show up like this, probably from a hang tag like that. And on the back it says, peel for a little pick-me-up. So you peel this off, and then it kind of takes that whole part off. But don't be concerned that it takes the name off, because the name is still on the back. Very small, but it's there. And this is acai, like acai berry. And this one I have not touched this one, obviously, I just opened it. But I'm quite curious because blues and purples can be quite tricky to do well. For a $3 palette, I don't know. Don't look too bad, actually. That's pretty. So that's, why can't I say it? That's acai. I thought we would do some comparisons. So as I mentioned, I have two of the Fenty Snap Shadows. I did a review of these. I'll link that for you if you're interested in seeing it. This is the Cool Neutrals from Fenty. So this is the one that reminded me of Rosewater. Here's Rosewater. Here's Cool Neutrals. Do I think they're the same? Certainly not. But do I think there's some colors that could compare? I kind of do. So I'm going to do this again, and then see if there's any comparable colors in the Fenty. And again, this is the Rosewater from e.l.f. These are the Fenty shades. So the first shade you see is e.l.f., and then the second one will be Fenty. So e.l.f., Fenty, e.l.f., Fenty, Fenty, e.l.f., Fenty. Now, are they direct dupes? Certainly not. So there are some similarities, I'll say. And actually, I think these, you know, and this e.l.f. one swatch is pretty nice. And I thought you might be curious, because really when I saw them, the first thing I thought of was, wow, those look like the Fenty shadows. So the Berry Badge from e.l.f., and I want to compare that one to the Rosé, which is palette number 4 from Fenty. Which is right there. So I'll just hold them up. And again, do I think they're identical? No, of course I don't. e.l.f., e.l.f. Ooh, I should have left a little more space, I think. So these are the Fenty shades. So there's the comparison. Again, identical now, but like those two shades are pretty close. Those aren't too far off. And it's interesting that the matte and shimmers almost coincide as well. So they are not identical dupes, but I was definitely curious to see how similar they were. And if you've been kind of, you know, like eyeing the Fenty palettes, but they're out of your price range because they are $25 each, or you can get 2 for $45. And if you could get something similar for $3 each, and that's more to your budget, might be might work well for you. And then I thought we'd do one more, and I don't know if this is really going to be much of a comparison at all, but I thought, what the heck, as long as we're here. Cream and Sugar from e.l.f. and Mini Glam from Natasha Denona. This is the newest mini from Natasha Denona. I haven't even used this yet. I have not had an opportunity. It seems like the Natasha Denona is generally a little more neutral, I guess I would say. So these two obviously don't compare, and these two, you know, this is the e.l.f. one is clearly cooler than the Natasha Denona. Those two aren't that far off, and the mattes really aren't that far off either. So again, if $25 is more than you can spend or choose to spend, whichever it is, and you think this would fill the bill for you for $3, I think it's a great option. Oh, did I point out my brushes? That they've been washed and they're drying on my table? I know I'm really moving up in the world. So then which one to demo? I think I want to use one that I haven't used yet because I think that would just be nice. So I think I'm going to go easy. I'm going to go with Cream and Sugar, which is, it's not a dupe for the Natasha Denona Mini Glam, but maybe you could get a similar look. So I just thought we'd give this a try and see how these perform on the eye. And I'm not expecting any great dramatic look out of this palette. I'm just going into this shade, putting that kind of in the transition area. And I've kind of been letting my brows grow out, grow in. What do you say about brows? Out or in? And these are just my natural brows. I don't use anything on them. I don't use like a growth serum or anything. And that was the color that didn't really show up much on me when I swatched it. Not surprising with my skin tone. Let's actually put some of that on the kind of the outer third here. I'm just going to go into this kind of gold bronze shade with my finger. Well, that picks up beautifully. And I'm putting that deepest shade in the crease here with a smaller brush. And as I often mention when I'm kind of demoing shadows like this, I'm not trying to come up with like an earth-shattering look. I'm just trying to see how they perform and show you how they perform. Like, do I have to build them up? Are they hard to blend? Are they easy to blend? That kind of thing. Again, nothing earth-shattering. I'm actually going to take a little more of that copper shade and move it this side a little. You can see there's plenty of shimmer from those shades, from that shade. And I just want to see what this lighter shimmer does. Does it add much more dimension? Oh, that's pretty shiny actually. So again, that's just a quick demo of the e.l.f. Cream and Sugar Bite-Sized Shadows. I'm just going to blend a little. So I know that some people don't like to reference price. Like it should either be a good palette or not a good palette or whatever. But I think it's worthy of noting like how these perform considering it's a $3 palette. Because frankly, my expectations are not as high for a $3 palette as they are for like a $100 palette. They're just not. But you know what? I have no complaints about that. I wouldn't look at those swatches or this look and assume that this was a $3 palette. Not a $3 shadow, a $3 palette. And frankly, drugstore prices are getting so out of hand, at least for cosmetics, that I'm surprised to see e.l.f. come out with something in the $3 range. Because even their, you know, I think some of their things that were $3 for a long time are now $4, and a lot of their things are $6, and their skincare is higher, and almost everything I'm seeing that's being released for the drugstore, you know, is like $10 to $15. So to have something that is decent quality, that is under $5 for 4 shadows, I applaud e.l.f. for doing that. I would love to see more brands do that because I just think they're really, those prices are just getting so high that they're getting unapproachable even for, you know, people who used to think drugstore makeup was a deal. So I'm good with these little bite-sized shadows, and I think they were a nice idea. I like the variety. I think there's 2 that I didn't get, and I hope that was helpful because that is always my only purpose here. I'm really glad to have you along, and I know I was really curious about, okay, are these any good? What do you get for $3, and how do they compare? And I hope I answered those questions for you. Thank you for hanging out, just talking makeup with me. I absolutely adore this stuff, and hope you are having a good day, and I will talk to you soon.